We are in Consumer Math Lesson 4-3. Today's date is Wednesday, January 6, 2021. Yeah, we're talking about benefits. So just trying to learn about the possible benefits that the job has to offer. And there's a lot of them that they might be offering. All right, sounds good, Julian, thanks. So the general reason that I need to talk about benefits when it comes to your jobs is the following, and I feel like I want to type this because it'll be a little bit faster for me and I can keep talking. So only considering the base salary is often not enough to choose one job over another. So I know that it's kind of a magical idea, especially right now during COVID when it's really kind of hard to find jobs. But let's say that you have two jobs that said, yes, come work for us. How do you decide between one job or the other? Or maybe a better scenario, since maybe we don't have two job offers, is maybe you're looking into two different job offers and you want to dedicate all of your time to one or the other. How do you choose which one is better? Which one makes the most money maybe? And it's not purely just off of their salary. There's a bunch of other things that might save you money that should be considered in the money that the job has to offer. And each of these that I'm going to be talking about, I don't even know how many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 different benefits that you might need to consider. And there's probably more than that too. These are the ones that I could come up with. They have some sort of monetary value. So the first one that I'm thinking of, the really big one, is health insurance. So there's always the possibility that your job doesn't even offer health insurance. There's probably a good possibility that does, but you can get your own health insurance. You don't have to go through your job. Teachers and the district, in essence, for the Eastern Sierra Unified School District, has a really good health insurance plan. I want to show that in a little bit. But how can you get health insurance? Like, even if you're on the board, so just people that like vote on what the school does, they get health insurance even though they're not working as a full-time teacher. Just because they meet, what is it, once a month and they make decisions, they get health insurance. So it is like a worthwhile thing just to get this cool package. So I'll say this: you can get your own private health insurance. You can get own private health insurance. I can't spell it. That was going to be an E. Health insurance. You don't have to go through your job, but it is highly recommended that you do if it is offered. But in order to make the decision, is health insurance going to save you money? Is it going to cost you money? You need to consider the following things. You need to compare that private organization to your own company's offer. You need to think about the overall cost. How much are you going to be paying each month in order to pay for this health insurance? Depending on the package that you might choose, maybe that's zero. There are two options through our school where you pay nothing and you get health insurance, which is kind of cool. And I can't spell overall cost. Generally, it should be cheaper because it's going through your job. So they'll pay part of it and then you pay the rest. Then you ask about all the following options, like co-pays. You have to ask about, like, is dental included? Like, can you go to the dentist at a reduced price or free? Is vision, I can spell here, is vision included? Are you allowed to go to the optometrist and get glasses, maybe at a reduced price, or just get a free checkup? It's kind of nice to have. What is the max out of pocket? And that one's important, but not super important, because like say you just have a really tough year where you get really sick and you break your leg and a bunch of bad things happen, eventually there's a stopping point where they say, you've paid $30,000 for going to the hospital, you're done. Like if you get sick again, it's on the house. That's your max out of pocket. And again, all of these things I want to discuss more in depth in a whole lesson on how to choose different types of health insurance. But I think that's the summary that I'm going to give you guys. Make sure that you're paying attention to these things when you're looking into health insurance plans through jobs. And as a quick overview, these are the PPO plans that our school has to offer. Notice that there's no HMO plans, which I'll talk about at a later date. Look at this. So let's pretend that we're individuals because that applies to you the most. You're not getting health insurance for your family and for your sons or daughters or whatever. It's just you. Look at this. The first two plans, guess how much you pay? $0. Your deductible is nothing. You don't have anything coming out of your paycheck. The other plans are like bigger and more awesome. I think I chose plan 5, so maybe I'll pay attention to that mostly. I guess I should look at out of pocket. So it has some cool options. Like every time that I go to the office, it only costs me $20 instead of the, I don't know, the American healthcare system is terrible. So you might be paying like thousands of dollars. It tells you like how much you're going to be paying for an ER visit versus a non-ER or chiropractic. Like there's a bunch of different options here. And again, I'm not going to delve too deep into this. Yes, you can get prescriptions for cheaper, stuff like that. Let's move back to our notes though. Where are we? We're here. What's another benefit that you might have to consider? Retirement plan. That's like kind of a big one too. I'm trying to do the biggest ones to begin with. Retirement plan. And we have already talked about this. You guys know the difference between a Roth IRA, a traditional IRA, all of these other ones, 401k, and I'll put the 401k. That's a really important one. The 401k typically will be matched by the employer. So when you're putting money and saying, this is going to be saved for when I retire, your employer will sometimes be like, oh, you put $200, we'll also put in $200. You basically double the money when you put it into the 401k. So I'll put this like as a star. Usually this has matching. And if it's not full matching, usually it's partial matching. Like, oh, you put $100 in, we'll give you an extra 50. They'll do a 50% match. And there are other types of retirement plans that we've talked about, like a Roth IRA. Some that I haven't talked about that I should list here, like a 403b, which is essentially a 401k, but this is like the government version of it, the government version of a 401k. And then there's like other government retirement plans. There's like the 457, which is, it's just another retirement plan. We have the Roth IRA, you have the traditional IRA, all of these things that you need to be looking at sometimes are offered by your company. I mean, these are obviously like, they're almost 100% of the time offered through the company. Like if you're working for the government, I work for the government because I'm a teacher, but I do something called CalSTRS, which is an entirely different plan, but be paying attention. Like the retirement plan could be amazing. And that would be like the sole reason that you would work at a place. Another thing that you need to be paying attention to, and this is more geared towards people that live in the city, that transportation is kind of hard, but just transportation reimbursement. Transportation reimburse, can't spell, reimbursement. Is it burst? It's just MENT. If I spell things wrong, just, it's okay. This is usually like if you go to the BART, like if you're going in San Francisco or something like that, typically this is going to be just general commuting costs, like the subway or like a train or something, or you can think of like the BART if you're in SF, right? Sometimes the company will say, hey, like free BART passes on this, go ahead and come here for free. You don't have to worry about transportation, which is kind of nice. And that does add up really quickly over time. The next one is life insurance. So I think it might be a common mistake that life insurance is not the same thing as workers' comp. I mean, regardless of what happens, if you are on the job and you get hurt, that's coming out of the company's personal insurance. Life insurance is off on the side. Like, what happens if something bad happens to you that's off the job? Are you covered? There's a few things I want to say about this more than I've said about the previous two topics. This is especially important if you have dependents, and I defined dependents yesterday. Anyone that depends on you for money, and usually I'm thinking of children. So I'll say it's important if you have dependents. Because if anything happens to you, then you both are in a bad spot instead of just one. Like, if you get hurt, you're really hurting two people. So make sure that you're covered. The other things that can happen too, like student loans. You guys probably have those coming up if you're planning on going to college. If you don't get a full ride, you're probably gonna have to take out a student loan. So student loans, depending on the type of loan, are sometimes co-signed by a parent. I'll put in parentheses here. If they're co-signed by a parent, that just means the loaning agency is like, I don't trust you. You're 18 years old. You're unresponsible. If you just run away to Canada and never come back, we're never going to see our money again. So we're going to link your parent to this as well. So your parent's like, okay, I'll come in. Yes, Jose, he's very responsible. I'll sign this as well, which means this loan is not only attached to you, it's attached to your parent. So what happens if you, I don't know, worst case scenario, die? Your parent has to pay your student loan. But if you have life insurance, the life insurance will pay off that student loan. And your parent won't be shackled with however big of the student loan that you have. But the student loans do get transferred to the parent if something bad happens to you. Just in general, don't pass on your burdens.
Susan Bill,
Yes.
do spouses count as dependents if only one person is working?
For tax codes, yes, only if that person doesn't work for the entire year. If they only don't work for like half of the year and then they work for the other half, they don't count as dependents anymore.
Okay.
But yes, they would definitely count as a dependent if they don't have any job. Like, if you're thinking the stay-at-home mom or the stay-at-home dad, those are dependents.
Okay.
And I mean, the point of me bringing all this stuff up for life insurance is it is sometimes offered at a cheaper option if you have a certain job that offers it, right? And slightly different than life insurance is disability insurance. It's basically in the same group of things though. Come on, spell please. Disability insurance. Life insurance is if you die. Disability insurance is if you get disabled. Again, kind of the same thing. I'll just do like quote, 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 which is a fancy way of saying, yeah, everything above here that you need to be thinking of. Don't pass on burdens. Like, if you get injured and someone else is going to have to help you. I will say this though, disability insurance is notorious, which is famous for a bad reason, for having fine print. And what I mean by that is, if you actually look at what the disability insurance contract says, maybe they say they only cover these specific type of injuries, or we only cover these injuries when you're at a certain age, or maybe we are only going to cover you up to a certain amount of money. So just be careful. And I have a stepmom that had to go, not quite through disability insurance. She went through workers' comp, but it's basically the same system as far as I understand in terms of getting fixed. She blew out her knee, essentially getting injured on the job. And it took, she said, 7 years for it to get replaced. It was a terrible system. They fought it at every turn. She had to hire her own lawyers and eventually had to pay part of her replacement out of her own pocket. So just be careful when you're looking into disability insurance. unless you guys really want to, I don't think I'm gonna have a full lesson on disability insurance. This is another cool one. So when I was looking into being an actuary, they actually had something called tuition reimbursement. Tuition reimbursement. And then even as a teacher, they still have this right now for me. How do you spell reimbursement? Is it REIM? Maybe there's no N in it. Reimbursement. I feel really guilty because my wife is like an amazing speller. That was her thing. Well, she had a lot of things. That was one of her things in high school. She went to like state championships for spelling, and I'm terrible at spelling. Tuition reimbursement. So you go to school, they will pay for you to go to school. If you're going to be an actuary, you go like the best path is you go get your GE, your 2 years of college, and then you're like, I'm going to be an actuary. You pass a few, 3 really hard tests, and then they're like, oh, we're going to pay for you for the rest of your actuarial degree. We'll pay for you to take the next 6 tests for a total of 9. They pay for everything, which is kind of cool. And even for being a teacher, I can still get paid to go to school up to a certain amount for our district. Like our district, every half of a year or every quarter of a year, they dish out, they're like, we got $6,000. Anyone in our district want to go to school? And you can be like, oh, I want to go to school for like a few weeks. And then you go get some more units and then you come back smarter and more awesome. That's called professional development. So I'll write that down, professional development. But that's for a bunch of other jobs too, not just being a teacher. If you want to, like through your company, be like, I think it will help. I don't know, I could think of some crazy one. I think like being able to play the guitar in the company room is going to help everyone be a better productive employee or something. I don't know. You could probably try to argue for a bunch of different things, but if you can somehow get your company to pay for a class, that's awesome. You just become more smart or smarter, more smart, a better person. Also, if you're planning on going to something like grad school is insanely expensive. The story that I just read last week, I feel guilty that I don't remember his name, but like the guy that helped start up the FBI criminal profiling case, like the profiling division, they paid for him to go to grad school through the FBI. It's kind of cool. So depending on what job you have, maybe they'll pay you to go to grad school so you can get your master's or get your PhD.
My mom's guiding service, which she works for, they sometimes pay for her to go to the like avalanche refresher courses or like a big ski trip in British Columbia or something at some fancy resort.
Ooh, very cool. Okay, so like what you need to do there, you got to figure out how much is that worth if I didn't get that for free? Is that like a ton of money? I'm interested in how much money that adds on to the actual cost of the job, like how much, or the actual, what am I thinking of? How much you make from the job. Just add that on, see if it's more worth it.
It always depends though, because they just redid all the certifications and now they're not paying for it, but they used to always pay for it. So it's annoying.
Okay. Another one that my wife had in the past was a health club discount. Health club discount. That's a fancy way of saying you get free gym membership, or maybe other things, but what I'm thinking here is gym membership. Maybe your employer is like right next door to the gym, they get free gym membership, or maybe it's way across town, but they're like, hey, we want our employees to be healthy individuals. Go to the gym and it's like 75% off on us. And you go there. Like, I know a lot of people, I don't know a lot of people. I have heard of a lot of people, and I know one person in actuality that goes to the gym as part of their job, and that's their morning routine. They don't take a shower at home. They don't eat breakfast at home. They do everything at the gym. That's their morning routine. And then after they're done brushing their teeth and everything at the gym, then they go to work. So gym membership could be huge. It might be really nice. go there after you're done with work, go to the spa, like Snow Creek Athletic Club. They do have a plan through Mammoth High School that my wife used to have also, where it was like, you get half off because you work for the school. And then she would go there for the spa, the sauna, whatever it was. It was pretty cool. That was a health club discount. And then the last thing I could think of was free food. Free food. Like there's the tiny things, of course, like you can have, like maybe they have free snacks in like the meeting area for employees, or maybe they have free coffee. Koofy, how do you spell coffee? C-O-F-F-E-E, coffee. And kind of a big one, if they have this, which is a lot rarer, is do they have their own cafeteria? Because if they do, you probably get really nice food for maybe free or at least a reduced price. So I'll just write down here, cafeteria. So the point of, I'm basically done at this point. So I'll do an example and then we'll be done with the notes. But I really want you guys to be thinking when you're choosing your job, if you're somehow able to figure out, oh, wow, they actually do have their own cafeteria, or they do have a form of professional development, anything like that, think of that as a monetary value that's on top of the job. And I think it will really be clarified with examples. Let's make one up. I'm just going to do one example. Example number one. Let's say you have two different jobs that you're looking for. You have job one and job two. You don't have enough time to apply to both of them. You just have to apply to one of them. Which one would you choose? So let's say that job one has a salary of $3,500 per year. And job two has a salary of $3,200. And let's pretend, yeah, they're both basically identical. They're in the same spot. You don't have to drive super far for one or super close for the other. They're very similar, except the benefits and salaries are different. So obviously, at first glance, job one looks really good, but job one doesn't have any benefits. So for benefits, you got nada, nothing, zil, niche, none. But job two has health insurance. It has a retirement plan. I'm going to skip a line because I want to do a little bit of math. Retirement plan. And job two actually offers free parking, where job one, it's really expensive to park. Maybe this is like a city or something. It's really hard to find parking in the city. So it has their own parking lot. So at this point, it's kind of hard because it's not as easy as saying, oh, we'll just add up the health insurance amount of money that you say. Like you have to do research. You have to say, okay, well, if I went with job one, what would my health insurance plan be? And I'm hoping at a future date, we can actually pretend that we're going to find a health insurance private plan right now. What would that health insurance plan be that I would get by myself? And then also, what would my job offer? You have to do a bunch of work to find two plans, and then you have to calculate the difference. How much money would I save? Let's pretend we did all of that work and we said, oh, well, we could actually save $200 a month with job two's plan. And kind of the same thing, you have to do a bit of math to figure out what the retirement plan is worth. But let's say they match you at the maximum of 3% of your annual salary. So 3% of that 32,000, that's about 960. So I'll say this is about $960 per year. And in terms of parking, that's probably, I don't know, about $80 per month. $80 per month. Because you want to calculate these on the yearly salary, we have to turn all of these into years. So we need to multiply this by 12. This one's already in years, so that's multiplied by 12. If I did all of the math here and we added up, you would see that the actual monetary worth of job two is about $36,320, which actually is more than the original salary for job one, just by benefits alone. So if I saw these two plans, I 100% would go with job two, assuming they're like in the same location, like I love them equally, stuff like that. So be wary of the benefits for jobs. It's not just about the salary. So let's zoom out here on the notes. Do we have any questions or comments? Again, my philosophy in this class isn't that you're going to memorize everything that I say. If you do, you're going to be an amazing person when it comes to money in your future life. The main idea that I hope that you'll remember for at least like the next 10 years is when you're looking at jobs, make sure to pay attention to the benefits and their monetary equivalent. How much money am I saving with this benefit? And add that onto your salary. And you kind of have a general idea of what to be looking for. I'm sure there's other things I forgot on this list.